If you're wondering why this panel looks a little bit weird, it's because in the chapter it's actually pretty small. I think it takes up like maybe like 1/8 of the page, possibly less. And the reason what we're talking about this particularly, it was a very big moment, and I feel like a lot of people haven't been talking about it because a lot of the discussions for this recent chapter have been more towards upset over William and some people defending him, which I don't know why you would. But this is a big moment for Asta. And what was, I think, really great about how Tabana handled this is he didn't put any emphasis on it. It was very much a very subtle and small moment. And if you don't already know what I'm going off of this, there are some people that have been discussing this, me being one of them, is that Asta was fully ready to give his grimoire back to Licht, which, keep in mind, this was everything that led him into this life. Asta was, he's a very determined kid. He tried really hard. He didn't want to give up. And he eventually did get his grimoire, and we haven't found out some, maybe, whatever secrets led to that, because obviously it came to him. Nobody seems to know how it happened, not even Sekri. Again, I still have theories over the anti-magic demon and some of his comments maybe leading up to that, but that's not the topic for this video. So, looking at it, Asta, he's been very happy about what the Magic Knight's, like, what he's been able to accomplish, his progress. Normally, obviously, he himself, he's happy with what he's done, but in a regular situation, Asta doesn't boast. He doesn't like to, brag or really hype himself up. He still sometimes likes to, be proud of his accomplishments, but he's not one of those guys that just goes around and oh, cool, I achieved this new level of power, this form or something. He doesn't just go around trying to brag at people. The only exception being, similar to, Asta being Yuno's only exception to, actually, for the most part, being a jerk. But with that, you have to, think in Asta's mind. This grimoire led him to his job in the Magic Knights. It made him all these friends, all these adventures and experiences. And the last big chunk of his life has all been thanks to this grimoire. And we already know that in this situation, he's also very humble, and he's very much holds his values, very high. And in this, he knows that the grimoire belonged, at least originally, to Licht. And in that mindset, so many things that have turned out well for him are tied to him receiving this grimoire, and his future also, pushes from this. Because we don't know if Asta, if he lost the grimoire, if Licht ended up taking it back, how would Asta be able to fight or do anything? This is his pretty much the tool that he's hopefully going to be able to use to become eventually the Wizard King. And it's not only just that, because the thing about the anti-magic swords and the grimoire is they're obviously very powerful. Their level of resistance and uses against magic are very vast. But if you don't have the capability of using them, and I don't mean just oh, Asta doesn't have magic, so he can't use them, they don't affect it. I mean, they're powerful, but by themselves they're nothing. It'd be yeah, this guy's a really good marksman. He's a really good shot with a gun, but it's yeah, put the gun down, and what is the gun? It's nothing. You got to keep in mind it's both the combination of the user and the tool. And also, he trained really hard to be able to use them. He learned some degree of swordsmanship. He's been a very, very much tied to this grimoire. It's a part of him. But he knows that even though he's got it, it was in a way taken from Licht, and it initially was his. And after all that this grimoire has done and led for him, he knows, even though how important it is to me, it's not mine, and it's this guy's. So I should just buy what's right, give it back to him. And obviously Licht he's no, this is yours now, you keep it. He knows that. I'm very curious if Licht could tell how much Asta, how much the swords and the grimoire meant to him, or if it's just more of, no, I'm gonna die, I'm going back to being deceased, I don't need it. But regardless of that, it's a very heavy moment for Asta, because of the fact that even though he's achieved all this, he's made progress in his journey of he had this idea of wanting to be the Wizard King, and for years and years and years, like there was nothing really like showing for him to be able to achieve this, and now he's on a path. He's done like some pretty good accomplishments. He's made some good allies. He's been smart of like, you know, using what he's had and made in combat and being able to progress himself and to keep moving forward. But at the same time, he's had like good character moments and all these good memories, all just stemmed and rooted out of the moment that he got his grimoire. And just like to be able to give that all up, and the reason is just it doesn't rightfully belong to me, so it shouldn't. I should give it back. It's just such a heavy, like, pure moment for Asta. I think is a very very like hard hammering like piece of him. Just he has that just pure soul honesty that like Lumiere and Julius have. And I really like that aspect of you have like the first Wizard King, the most recent one, and then the main character being the future one, at least one of the future ones, you know, the one that we know because he's the main character. It just ties that extra piece to him of just that sincerity and that honesty and that just pure heart and values that goes into both Asta and like a good like aspect for the Wizard King. So I'm gonna keep this video fairly short because it wasn't like a deep discussion. It was just over this moment, and it was just crazy to for this panel to be such a small bit, and yet it's literally in the last, like the last panel on the second to last page of chapter 213, and there's no like big emphasis on it. Like a lot of emphasis was on like the clearing of all the elves and the that are taking hold of people's bodies, and then you just had this really like great character moment for Asta, just kind of like put in there. It's one of those ones that it's like if you just were reading the chapter, you might not notice it. And obviously, it was such a short-lived moment, you probably wouldn't think too much on it. But you have to keep in mind again, like what this would mean for Asta. Like he's knowingly giving up like this huge part of who he is because he knows, like at least in his mind, what he thinks is right. So tell me in the comments below when you think about this. Like, I think it's just a great moment. I think this is a really good like character defining moment for Asta. And it just goes to show, like, he just has that pure, like, honesty and, like, just good soul, like, deep-rooted into him. And even if you, what's funny is, like, even if you flipped it and, like, he had a moment where he acknowledged it should be linked, but he kept it out of, like, selfishness towards his, you know, his attachments to it, that could also have been, like, a really, like, interesting character moment. It would have felt weird, but it could have worked into something with him. But I think I like that idea, but I also really like this idea because it's such a nice like Asta, you goddamn naive pure soul. What are you doing to me? And good boy, he's a good lad, and I look forward to seeing like the rest of his journey. And it was such a nice way to end this arc too, of just seeing like again Julius, the Wizard King that we've gotten glimpses of throughout the series. And we've gotten like what he means to other characters, but we didn't get a ton about him. And then just like the first real acts that we got of him, just like as a character solo, and not like him having an interaction with like the main character Yami or anything. It ended up with him just having a raw king like protecting his people moment, and then seeing Lumiere was very similar to that. You know, had a very similar moment with him against the demon version of Licht. I imagine Asta would pull the same move. Again, there's a lot of Wizard Kings we don't know. There could easily be more like that. There could easily be ones not like that that don't fit the bill of what we'd expect to be a Wizard King. But Asta is that feature material, so good stuff for him. Good moment. I'm looking forward to see what's next on Asta's journey. So, again, other than that, comment below. I'd really appreciate if you thumbs up the video, but friend the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.